Welcome to College Football Now, Bowl Edition. I'm your host, Donovan Hester.
And Geiser. We have a great slate of bowls for this Christmas break, and I'll give it to Don to start us off.
Start off with the Military Bowl. Cincinnati meets Virginia Tech. Cincinnati back-to-back 9-win seasons with Tommy Tuberville. His first two seasons at the head coach of Cincinnati. Cincinnati's offense has looked great all season. Gunnar Kill's been playing fantastic. Virginia Tech's defense has played pretty good this year. They got a huge win at Ohio State. I think this is It's going to be a good game. I think Cincinnati's going to end up winning it, though.
Like Donovan said, I think it's going to be a quarterback battle between Michael Brewer and Gunnar Kiel. Kiel has the advantage for throwing over 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. One shot of the Cincinnati Bearcats single-season record set by Ben Mock. Virginia Tech's offense has had trouble scoring, putting up points in 16-6 and 3 in their losses. You need to put up more points than that to stay with UC because they are a high-power offense. I like UC to win this game just because I think it's a Big 12 edition, maybe, could be possibly. But I like UC to win pretty big here.
In the Hyundai Sun Bowl, Arizona State and Duke. Arizona State had college football on their minds all season. End of the season, they kind of fell off the wagon, but they made a pretty good Duke team this year that was ranked top 25 all season long. And the last couple of games they haven't looked very good, but I think it's going to be a good game. I think Arizona State's going to win it.
Yeah, and then we have the Duck Commander Independence Bowl. I like Miami and Florida in this one against South Carolina. I think Miami's offense has proven it can score, posting over 50 points against UC. Now, that was when the defense was absolutely abysmal. But I'm not a big fan of Steve Spurrier. I think the talent that he has doesn't really produce on the field. I think it's going to be no case of that today. Actually, December 27th, to be exact. But I like Miami, Florida to win that one pretty handily.
New Era Pinstripe Bowl played at Yankee Stadium, Boston College and Penn State. Two mediocre teams. I think it's going to be interesting to see who wins. I think it's going to be Penn State.
And the National University Holiday Bowl between Nebraska and USC. USC riding high off a big victory against Notre Dame when Cody Kessler threw for over 6 touchdowns. I don't think it's going to be a case against Nebraska. Even though both playing left, I think Nebraska can rely on the running game, which has been solid all year.
Right.
I think it's going to be a difference in that game. So I like Nebraska.
The AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Texas A&M and West Virginia. This is another interesting game. Both teams played pretty well this season. Kenny Hill and the Aggies, they started off very well, and a couple games they looked not too good, but West Virginia's been pretty good all season. I think it's going to be a solid game. I think West Virginia's going to win it.
Yeah, and the Russell Athletic Bowl between Oklahoma and Clemson. A big note to take for Clemson is that Deshaun Watson, their quarterback, recently had knee surgery and was obviously out for the rest of the year. I think that's going to be the reason why Clemson loses this game. You can't go in the bowl game with your backup quarterback, like with your coach leading. You just can't do it. The centerpiece is gone.
Yeah.
So I like Oklahoma to win this one just because Clemson is not going to be with their starter, Deshaun Watson.
In the Music City Bowl, Notre Dame is playing LSU. I think this is really an interesting game because Notre Dame looked so great early this season. After that loss to Florida State, they really haven't looked good at all. Got smacked against USC. LSU's looked pretty solid all season, so I think LSU's going to win this game.
Yeah, kind of what Donovan said. I think Notre Dame really struggled after that Florida State game. They kind of lost their identity. Everett Golson played really bad. It was the worst we've seen him play as a Fighting Irish. So I think just because they've struggled all year, I think that quarterback issue between benching him and him just not playing well in general, I think LSU wins this one because Notre Dame has struggled really bad. And in the Belk Bowl between Georgia and Louisville, this is going to be a pretty good game, I think, but I think Georgia comes out on top. SEC asserting its dominance against the ACC with Louisville. I think even though Todd Gurley has not been there for Georgia all year, I think they've done enough that they can handle themselves on their own. So I like Georgia to win this one.
Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, a really good game between number 9 Ole Miss and number 6 TCU. Both teams, didn't get in the playoff. TCU's going to be very upset that they think they got robbed, I guess you could say. So they're going to come out playing angry, playing with fire. But I think Ole Miss is going to hold them off, and I think they're going to win this game.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I like TCU just because I think they are really upset about getting snubbed for the college football. I feel like they deserve to be there. I think they did a good job, but obviously that 10-team league's really not pulling in their favor. I like TCU. I think the Ole Miss team that played the first 7 games a year that was undefeated, if they play, they'll win. But if it's a team that showed up in the end of the year where they got shut up by Arkansas, it's going to be a no-brainer. TCU wins that game.
Right.
In the Capital One Orange Bowl between Mississippi State and Georgia Tech, I like Mississippi State. Georgia Tech's option offense is not going to be able to get them enough offense against a Mississippi State team that has SEC speed, SEC power. Dak Prescott, I think, is going to carry the Bulldogs in this game, so I think it's going to be a big Bulldogs victory.
Okay, the Outback Bowl, Auburn versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin coming off that terrible game against Ohio State where they got smacked in the Big Ten championship. I think Auburn's been pretty consistent all season long. I think they're going to beat Wisconsin.
Take note on that. Auburn just hired Will Muschamp as the defensive coordinator, what he was known to do before he came to Florida. So let's see how Auburn does next year. And in the Rose Bowl between Oregon and Florida State, I think this is a great matchup of quarterbacks between Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston. I think the Heisman winner, Marcus Mariota, he has a lot on his shoulders. He's carrying the Duck Nation. But I think Florida State's magic finally runs out. I think Oregon is the team that takes Jameis Winston out of his comfort zone. I like Oregon to win that game.
And then we have the All-State Sugar Bowl, number 1, Alabama, number 4, Ohio State. Ohio State's got a lot of momentum right in this game. They've kind of had a magic season. They've lost their quarterbacks. So now they're on their third quarterback, Cardale Jones. Urban Meyer's done a great job there. But I think, again, their magic's going to run out and Alabama's going to beat them.
Yeah, Nick Saban is a great coach. I think that Blake Sims has done a great job of carrying Alabama.
He really has.
Especially after leaving, A.J. McCarron's been, who's one of the greatest college football quarterbacks, arguably. I think Lane Kiffin does enough with Blake Sims, and they really take Ohio State to their comfort zone. I think Alabama wins that game, setting up a potential Alabama and Oregon game. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
With the Valero Alma Bowl between Kansas State and UCLA, I think Brett Hundley gets the job done against Kansas State. I think his last game as a Bruin is going to be enough. He's got a lot of fuel, a lot of fire. So I like UCLA to beat Kansas State.
And then finally, we got the Birmingham Bowl between East Carolina and Florida. This is kind of an interesting game. Will Muschamp and the Gators, they've kind of had an up and down season. He's finally gone, so I think they're going to turn the page, and they're kind of interested in what's going to be in their program for the next couple of years. So East Carolina, they started off the season very good, playing in the AAC. They've kind of struggled losing to UCF in their final game on a Hail Mary, but I think they're going to come out and challenge Florida, but I think Florida's just too powerful for them.
I'm going to disagree with Donovan. I'm going to go with East Carolina. I think Florida, even though they were starting fast with Jim McElwain coming in from Colorado State, I think East Carolina does. What they've done best is pass the football. Steve Carden done a great job, and then Hardy, who set the record for most receptions in the career. I like East Carolina to beat Florida in this one. I think Florida's rough year is going to end with a loss against the AAC team. And in the national championship, I have Oregon, Alabama. I don't know about you.
Oregon, Alabama,
but
too.
I think Oregon wins this game. I think Marcus Mariota, the golden boy, who's done everything for Oregon, goes out on a high note and finally gets Oregon that national championship that they waited for. Chip Kelly didn't get. I think Alabama's luck runs out. I think a feud between Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin, where they've been kind of iffy on terms of how the offense should be run all year. I think Oregon does enough to win this game and dethrone Alabama.
I think it's going to be interesting to see, saying Oregon, they've never won a national championship, and they're going up against the powerhouse of college football, Alabama, who I think at every position they're just so much more talented, and I think they're going to end up winning this game. I want it to be close. I think Sims and Cooper are a deadly combination. I think they're going to beat Oregon in this one and become the national championships.
All right, and that's a wrap from College Football Now. We will see you next year.